When Sophia Carter married Adrian Blake, everyone believed she was the luckiest woman alive. Adrian was handsome, wealthy, and admired by everyone in the city. He owned one of the most successful business empires in the country, and wherever he went, people whispered his name with respect. Sophia, on the other hand, came from a modest family. She was gentle, intelligent, and kind-hearted, but she had none of Adrian's wealth or influence. To outsiders, their marriage looked like a fairy tale. But behind the grand mansion doors, Sophia lived in silence. Adrian had married her not because he loved her, but because she was convenient. His true love had always been Isabella Monroe, the elegant woman who had once broken his heart. Even after marrying Sophia, Adrian kept Isabella's memory alive in every corner of his life. The portrait in his study was Isabella's. The piano songs he requested were Isabella's favorites. Even the roses in the garden were planted because Isabella loved them. Sophia noticed all of it. At first, she told herself that love took time. She believed that if she gave Adrian enough care, enough patience, enough devotion, one day he would look at her the way she looked at him. So she gave him everything. She waited for him every night, even when he came home late and never explained why. She prepared every detail of the home so he would feel peace. She stood beside him at every public event, smiling while he barely acknowledged her presence. She loved him quietly, asking for nothing in return. But Adrian remained distant, cold, untouchable. Whenever Sophia tried to get close to him, Adrian's eyes hardened. "Don't expect more from me than I can give," he said once. Sophia nodded and forced a smile. But inside, her heart cracked a little more. Months passed. Then one evening, Isabella returned. She came back to the city like a storm, beautiful, confident, and determined to reclaim what she had lost. The moment Adrian saw her, something changed. Sophia saw it in his eyes. For the first time since their marriage, Adrian looked alive. He laughed more. He smiled more. He spent long evenings away from home. And when Sophia asked if everything was all right, Adrian answered coldly, "You don't need to question me." The loneliness Sophia had learned to endure now became humiliation. At parties, Adrian walked beside Isabella while Sophia trailed behind. At dinners, he listened to Isabella's stories while ignoring Sophia's words. The servants noticed. The guests noticed. Everyone noticed. But Sophia remained silent. One rainy night, Sophia waited for Adrian at the dining table for hours. The candles had melted low. The food had gone cold. When Adrian finally returned, Isabella was with him. They entered laughing. Sophia stood up, her hands trembling. "I waited for you," she said softly. Adrian barely looked at her. "You shouldn't have." Sophia glanced at Isabella, who wore a smug smile. Then Sophia looked back at her husband. "Am I nothing to you?" she whispered. Adrian sighed, annoyed rather than concerned. "Why must you make everything dramatic?" Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "I am your wife." Adrian's voice sharpened. "You are my wife in name, Sophia. Don't confuse that with love." The words struck harder than any scream. Sophia stood frozen while Adrian and Isabella walked past her. That night, Sophia cried until dawn. And for the first time, she asked herself a painful question. Why am I begging for love from someone who refuses to give it? The next morning, she looked at her reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back at her looked pale and tired. Her eyes were dull. Her spirit was fading. She realized she no longer recognized herself. That was the moment something changed. Instead of crying, Sophia became calm. Instead of waiting, she began preparing. She contacted a lawyer. She reopened the design company she had abandoned after marriage. She quietly gathered the strength she had forgotten she possessed. Weeks later, Adrian came home to find Sophia standing in the grand foyer. There was a suitcase beside her. He frowned. "What is this?" Sophia handed him an envelope. Inside were divorce papers. Adrian looked stunned. "What nonsense is this?" Sophia's voice was steady. "It's not nonsense. It's freedom." Adrian laughed bitterly. "You think you can just walk away?" Sophia met his eyes without fear. "I should have walked away the moment I realized I was loving someone incapable of loving me back." Adrian's expression darkened. "You're being emotional." "No," Sophia replied calmly. "For the first time, I'm being rational." He stared at her, expecting tears, hesitation, weakness. But there was none. The woman standing before him was not the same quiet wife he had ignored. She was composed, resolved, strong. "You'll regret this," Adrian said. Sophia gave a faint smile. "No, Adrian. The only one who will regret this is you." Then she walked away, and she did not look back. The months after the divorce transformed Sophia. She poured herself into her business. Her talent, once hidden behind Adrian's shadow, began to shine. Her designs gained attention for their elegance and originality. Soon, her company became one of the fastest-growing luxury brands in the region. She traveled to international events. She appeared in magazines. She became admired not because of the man she married, but because of the woman she had become. More importantly, she found herself again. The sadness in her eyes disappeared. The uncertainty in her voice vanished. She no longer waited for anyone to choose her. She chose herself. Meanwhile, Adrian's perfect illusion began to crumble. Isabella, once the center of his desire, lost her charm when the chase was over. Without Sophia's quiet loyalty, the mansion felt empty. Without her warmth, every room felt cold. The meals were no longer prepared with care. The silence was no longer peaceful. For the first time, Adrian noticed what Sophia had been to him. Not an obligation, not a convenience. She had been the heart of his home. And he had destroyed it. One evening, Adrian attended a prestigious gala for business leaders. As he entered the ballroom, murmurs spread through the crowd. But they were not about him. They were about Sophia. She stood near the grand staircase, wearing a silver gown that reflected the lights like stars. She was radiant, elegant, confident. People gathered around her, eager for her attention. Adrian stared in disbelief. This was the woman he had ignored. And now she seemed beyond his reach. When Sophia noticed him, she gave a polite nod, nothing more. No pain, no longing, no anger, just indifference. That hurt Adrian more than hatred ever could. He crossed the room toward her. "Sophia." She turned gracefully. "Good evening, Adrian." He searched her face for the softness he once dismissed. "I didn't expect to see you here." She smiled faintly. "My company sponsored this event." He hesitated. "You look different." Sophia's eyes held calm strength. "I am different." Adrian lowered his voice. "I made mistakes." Sophia said nothing. He stepped closer. "I didn't understand what I had." She looked at him steadily. "No, you didn't." Regret filled his face. "Can we talk? Please." Sophia glanced around the room, then back at him. "There's nothing left to say." "There is," Adrian insisted. "I was blind. I hurt you. But I know now that Sophia interrupted gently. "Whatever realization you've had came too late." His face tightened with desperation. "I still have a chance." Sophia shook her head. "You had countless chances. I can change." She looked at him, not with anger, but with clarity. "Maybe you can. But that change is no longer for me." Adrian's voice broke. "I love you." Sophia's expression remained calm. Those were the words she had once dreamed of hearing. But hearing them now stirred nothing. Because love offered too late can never heal the wounds caused by neglect. Sophia drew a quiet breath. "I loved you once," she said. "I loved you enough to lose myself. But I will never do that again." Adrian's eyes filled with regret. "Please." Sophia stepped back. "I forgave you, Adrian. But forgiveness does not mean returning." Then she turned and walked away. Adrian stood frozen as the woman he had once ignored disappeared into the crowd, graceful, untouchable, and forever beyond his reach. For the first time in his life, Adrian understood the true cost of taking love for granted. He had chased a memory and lost something real. And now, the woman who had once given him everything belonged only to herself. Sophia walked into the night air, the city lights glowing around her. She felt no bitterness, no anger, only peace. She had once believed that love meant sacrifice, but now she understood that real love should never require losing your worth. She smiled as she looked toward the future, not because someone had finally chosen her, but because she had chosen herself, and in that choice, she became unstoppable, untouchable, free.